Oh, yes. We, like I said last time on the NBA show, on this show we have Hearts of Champions. And we had the one of the high school classmates of a now three-time NBA champion on this show a few weeks ago. And we send out prayers and thoughts to Fred Jack, as we call him, as he is going some family issues, not unbeknownst to him. His mother is not doing very well, so prayers to him, and hope things are going well with Fred. But besides that, we have a great guest on our show. He has been on this show once before. His name is Ben Probst. He is not related to Jeff Probst. He is Ben Probst. His tribe might be spoken. We don't know. We'll ask him. Ben, is your tribe spoken?
Yes, it is, but it'd be better spoken if I got some of that royalty money from Jeff.
Definitely. That'd be amazing if we had some of that grant to improve studio productions here. But thankfully, with 3PS Magazine, we have better productions here. So, welcome to the NBA Offseason Show. This is Tom, and we have Ben, of course, as our guest. So, quickly before we get started, as Ben knows, what do I usually do when I start my shows? What do I usually do?
What do you usually do? I know something that.
See, I asked the tough questions here. I've stumped them already before we even got NBA.
Man,
I give out shout-outs.
So fresh and new all the time that I don't know.
We give out shout-outs here at the start of the show because
the shout-outs, that's right.
I asked the tough questions here. I've stumped this kid already before we even got the NBA questions. Usually I give shout-outs right away because I want my professional talent to be recognized right away, and as we go on further in the show, people, tend to stray away because of how long it is. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Because, unfortunately, people's attention span just isn't that much. It's not like we're in grade school. We are adults.
Clearly not mine either. I totally forgot about the shout-outs. It's like you do that every show.
It's like that SpongeBob scene. We forgot his name!
So see, me forgetting shows how important it is to do shout-outs.
Exactly.
It's very crucial.
Yes. Networking's a great part of the game. So, first shout-out is to Johnny Kane from Fox Sports Detroit. As Ben knows, I went to Cleveland, hang out with my drinking buddies for Tigers Indians. Got to see Johnny Kane, works for Fox Sports Detroit. Does a lot of Piston stuff, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
So at some point, I even told Johnny I should try to get him on this show for a little Pistons preview at some point. Ben would be stoked by that if that would ever happen.
That would be pretty cool. Not going to lie. That would be cool to talk to him. Good old Johnny K.
Oh, yes. He eats a lot, but he runs a lot too. As people can tell, I don't. Maybe I should. Besides the point. At Johnny Kane FSD. Go follow him on Twitter. Great guy. He looks like my cousin too, Adam Kitchen. You probably saw that post, didn't you?
I think I might have. That's good old Johnny.
He does look like Adam. My cousin Adam. Shout out to Adam Kitchen as well. Another shout out to Gabriella or Gab Cruz. She is the host of Beer Money on FS Ohio, Sports Time Ohio. She is also the in-arena host for the Cleveland Indians. Got to meet her as well. Great personality. She actually runs a program that talks about dating violence and stopping and you know what I mean, counseling on relationships that are going bad. Love Doesn't Shove is the name of that program. Go give that a follow. If you can donate, great program. In fact, I'm trying to get her on the show to talk about that a little bit as well, but Gab Cruz, Love Doesn't Shove, at the Sports Gab on Twitter. I'm sure Ben's blown away by that too.
I have a feeling she's got plenty to talk about the Indians right now.
Yes, definitely. The Indians are quite a tear. Which brings me to my next point, MLB show. I should do an MLB show coming up soon around All-Star game time. Not sure who I'll have as a guest for that, but I do plan on doing an MLB show at some point as well. Have a guest on for that. So, Gab Cruz, Call her Gab, because she loves Gab. She loves to Gab, too.
There you go. And I already have your first question for your MLB show. Over under how many Tigers will be in the All-Star game? One or over under one or two?
Over under is one?
Over under two. Obviously, you got to have one representative.
Over under two? I'm going to say push. I think Castellanos is going to get in. I think Goodrum deserves it. I think Nico Goodrum deserves it. He plays a lot of positions, but maybe this is because I watch a little too much Tiger baseball, but I do feel that Nico Goodrum deserves it because he just plays hard every day. He doesn't have the greatest average in the world, but you know what? He gives his heart out every day for this team. He deserves a spot, in my opinion.
I like Goodrum. He's a quality player. There's a lot of great players on that team. I know this is supposed to be an NBA show, but that squad, I know they're not playing very well right now, but the fact that they're only 11 or 12 games under 500, or I think it's 9 now because I know they won earlier.
I think it's 10 now.
Or 10 over? Or 10 under?
Yeah.
Gardner is doing an amazing job with that squad.
Yes,
they're
he is.
totally doing better than they should. They're way overproducing. So when he's like, "Oh, the Tigers are terrible," well, they're supposed to be terrible. They're rebuilding.
You know, I might actually have Ben as my guest on this MLB show. Maybe we should just make this the Tom and Ben show. That'd be amazing. So
there we go.
There's a little preview of some MLB talk, as well as a shout out to @TheSportsGab, because she likes to gab. She is a host of Beer Money in Cleveland, and I also have another Beer Money host I will mention in just a second. But before that, I must mention one of the Cleveland strikers. She strikes the hearts of a lot of folks, including myself, even as a Detroit fan. She is Kellen Nicole. Shout out to Kellen. She's only about 5'2", it seems like, and I know I shouldn't be talking about girls' height on this show, but she's small, but she has a huge heart. Kellen Nicole, Cleveland striker. If you ever go to Cleveland, look for her, tell her I said hi. Say hi to her. @Kellen, KELLYN _Nicole, NICOLE. And if Ben ever goes to Cleveland, he'll be looking for her.
Either that or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know it.
That too. And I got to see the outside of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Great place.
It is.
My next shout out will actually be to John Keating. I'll actually go with John Keating before I go with my last one here. And I was hoping to meet Brandon Rush, who was actually one of the producers of my 3PS magazine shows. The producers and I have actually never met because we're from all across the country on 3 Point Stance. And Brandon was at the same park as I was that day, but unfortunately we weren't able to meet, and I felt, oh well. Sometimes I feel oh well, and sometimes I think, damn it, I missed out on an opportunity. But this one I just felt oh well because we're all in the same boat. Eventually we're going to meet. You know what I mean, Ben?
Absolutely.
So I was hoping to meet Rush, but instead I walked through in passing. Holy cow, there's John Keating right there. He's about to walk to his next position, his next spot on the field. You watch Tigers games, you see that. So I said hi to John Keating real quick. Gave him my business card. Shout out to John Keating @JohnKeatingFSD. Great guy. He's been around for a lot of years, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
And finally, one of my last shout out, but very not least shout out, is to Kelly Kroll from CSN Chicago. Yes, I am old school. I still call it CSN, even though it's NBC Sports Chicago. WGN 9 Chicago, ABC 7 Chicago. She does Cubs. She also does Bulls. Doubles. Having another heart attack, bub! Had to.
Hit his chest a million times, that's right.
And another thing, kind of personal, but on her profile she has the verse Philippians 4:13, which is quote-unquote, I can do all things through God who strengthens me. I'm a religious guy. Not often do I go political or religious on this show, but because it speaks to me a lot, I'll go religious for a second and I will respond to that verse that she has with John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, for those who believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. So, a little tidbit there about Kelly and about myself. And because of this, I'll play just a little bit of one of my favorite contemporary Christian songs. It's by Casting Crowns, What If His People Prayed.
Oh, I remember Casting. That's right.
It speaks a million words, and I had to do that because deep down I am a very religious man. Now, I don't go to church every Sunday because of my work schedule, but deep down I'm religious, and I hope that speaks to a lot of people. And maybe Casting Crowns will become a fan of this show now that I've played about 30 seconds of one of their songs. But shout out to Kelly. My last thing about her, that she's a Mizzou grad. I read that on her thing. She's wearing the wrong M. I'm a Michigan guy. But but an extended shout out there to Kelly Kroll. She actually knows Brandon Rush. So little, small world connection there. So Kelly Kroll, shout out CSN Chicago at Kelly_Kroll. So with that being said, if you're still listening with us, we will now talk NBA.
I mean, come on, you got to be listening to Casting Crowns. Got to keep sticking around for that. I remember when I was a youth group, someone back in the day. It's been a while since I've been over there. I listened to a few songs by Casting Crowns, and that was one of the songs I really liked by them. Was What If His People Prayed? Good song.
If We Are the Body is another one I like.
Oh, that's right. If you get them on the show, let me on there. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd like them to have a little concert on the show. But if ever they listen to this, that'd be amazing. So. Shout-outs, once again, Johnny Kane, Gabi Cruz, Kellen Nicole, John Keating, and Kelly Kroll. So with that being said, let's talk some NBA now.
The National Basketball Association.
The National Basketball Association. Let's start with the draft. Any standouts right now from the draft? I know we're just starting Summer League, but any standouts right now, or who you think will be a standout become like March or so of this coming season?
Who'll stand out? I think we got to go with. I think for me, the number one pick in the draft, DeAndre Ayton. I think that's going to be a really good fit with Phoenix. They just it's not even really more about him. It's just about the squad they have there as a period. I mean, they just signed Devin Booker to a big contract. I think it was like $125 million.
Yeah, something like that.
Josh Jackson, he's a talented up and comer. I mean, and they even got Trevor Ariza. They just signed Trevor Ariza.
That has to be if LeBron were not to have decided yet, or if LeBron were to be guaranteed in Cleveland for one more season, that I feel would be the talk of this round of free agency would be Trevor Ariza. Because I felt he was pretty much the most underrated guy on that team. Maybe you could argue Clint Capella, and I understand that argument, but I'd say Trevor Ariza was the most underrated guy of that Houston Rockets team.
Oh, he was. He hands down was, and it's a shame that the reason he wasn't able to re-sign with Houston was because Chris Paul just took a massive contract and they didn't have the money to pay him, and it really, as much as I can't stand the Golden State Warriors, what their star players are able to do, they know the importance of the salary cap and having enough money to sign certain players so they get better. That a lot of them can take less money to get there and have all their star players get paid. Mm-hmm. Chris Paul didn't take that route, so and then I think that's going to be a huge impact. Unless they get Carmelo. Carmelo's going to get bought out by OKC, and they're talking about him going to Houston. That might soften the blow of losing Trevor Ariza, but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll talk more about free agency in a little bit. But back to the draft. It was clear that Phoenix was going to take DeAndre Ayton because, think about it, Arizona guy, went to high school in Arizona, just makes sense. So they have a good, young, talented team, especially with Trevor Ariza signing. I'm going to say the standout right now of this draft that really people aren't talking about, and I know I'm going more of a Michigan route, Mo Wagner. Now he's going to get to play with LeBron, and the league will see just how good Mo Wagner really is. Because he was a standout at Michigan. I was sad to see him go. Because I wanted to see that championship banner raised in Ann Arbor. But, I'm not too worried about that now. Beeline's back. Wagner, I think, is going to be a big standout of this draft. I know later first round, but if we're going to go first half of the first round, there really is no argument other than Ayton. Bamba is going to be pretty good in Orlando. I actually wish that, and I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I wish that DeAndre Jordan would have signed in Orlando. Because just think of DeAndre and Bamba in the middle. Ooh.
That would be something. I know that their shooting would probably not be as strong, but inside, that would be like a Twin Towers kind of game that they would have. So you might be onto something there.
Mm-hmm. He's onto something here. And let's see here. And because we're mainly Detroit station, how do you feel Detroit did with the draft that they were given?
Honestly, I was totally shocked with what they were able to do. I mean, they only had one pick in the second round, and they're able to get two players that, talk about under the radar. They're pretty under the radar. Kyrie Thomas went to, I think it was DePaul. Was it DePaul? I thought it was. It was a really small school. I think it was a smaller Big East school that he went to. And then they got
Kyrie Thomas.
Kyrie Thomas. Yeah, I think he went. I'm pretty sure it was DePaul. I think.
Creighton.
Creighton. I'm sorry. The blue. That's right.
Played under Greg McDermott.
That's right. It's Creighton. That's right. The Blue Jays. Or the Jays. And then
probably better than the Toronto Blue Jays.
All right, as of right now, absolutely. I mean, they're definitely missing the bat flipping days, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I know they got that other player, Bruce Brown from Miami, and
yep.
I think another situation where a lot of people thought he might be a late first rounder, and the Pistons somehow were able to get him, and I was impressed by that. They only had one draft pick, and the fact that they're able to get two out of it. And I think they traded, just future second-round picks, which really in the NBA doesn't mean a whole lot. Because I view the second round, honestly, in terms of the NBA draft, first 10 picks, that's like your first round. And then after that,
yeah,
it's like the second to the seventh round of the draft, of the NFL draft combined into one.
Yeah.
You lose a lot of value at time. I know there's a lot of players that are an exception to that. Not DeAndre Jordan. Well, he was a second-round pick, too. But Draymond Green was a second-round pick. And then Akumba was 13. Later picks.
The Greek Freak!
The Greek Freak, that's right. So, going back to the Pistons, I was very pleasantly surprised because they didn't have a lot of room to work with. And getting two under-the-radar players, and see what they can do with them.
Yeah, and this seems like the first draft in a long time. Now, of course, we're still only in Summer League, that it seems like everybody did all right with what they had. But we'll see what happens. I'd give Detroit a solid B to B minus, and it's only because of what they had. I like two guards. We just need a little defense, and I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, that would have been. That's what Dwayne Casey's strength as a coach is defense. I'm a little more concerned about the offense because that's what derailed them last year. Mm-hmm. The defense wasn't great, but it wasn't awful. It was the offensive schemes that weren't very strong. But if they can, Kyrie Thomas can score a little bit, and Bruce Brown can as well. But we'll see what happens with them. Like I said, with second round picks, you can only have a certain level of expectation. So if they can be quality contributors, that'd be great.
And of course, I gotta mention before we move on, the thing that won over the internet on this draft, and even Andre Iguodala tweeted about it. We just gotta talk a little bit about Luka Doncic's mom. So, Ben, are you on the Fountain of Wayne's bandwagon here with Luka Doncic's mom?
Well, what more can you say? But yeah, wow.
Even Andre Iguodala said, "Mom's decent."
I'm about as speechless as trying to pronounce her name.
I think it's Miriam Potterbin, but I could be wrong.
That is correct. But I didn't even think it was. I didn't even know it was pronounced that way. But wow,
I'm just taking a shot in the dark with that. But my comments is like, wow, that's WCW worthy, perhaps. But yeah, good for Luka. Okay.
Good for Luka indeed. Well, I mean, I'm sure he probably is like, oh, stop fawning over my mom.
As any son of that caliber mom would think. Thankfully, my mom, and this is pretty much the only time I'll talk about my mother on this show, my mother is not like that. She is old, but not Lucas. So.
Definitely not, but I'm sure it's like, hey, Luka, what? Your mom's pretty hot. Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, whatever.
That'll get him going on the court, that's for sure.
Hey, Luka, I was with your mom last night.
That'll get him going. So with that being said, let's move on to the NBA awards. I'm just going to go through the awards, I guess, kind of a rapid fire thing. I'll tell you the award winner and tell me if you agree or disagree, I guess, with what the NBA gave the award to. So, first off, we'll start MVP Harden.
Well, for Harden, this is actually brings up another interesting discussion with the NBA awards.
Sure.
The problem with they wait way too long for the NBA awards season, because obviously when you look at a week after everything ends, like the playoffs and then the regular season, and there's so much buildup and buzz during the season who you think is going to be MVP, but then you don't hear about it for like a month, and it kind of loses a lot of steam. So obviously James Harden should be the MVP, but when it was announced like a couple weeks ago, you don't really care, because it should be the NBA awards. That they need to reform that entirely. Have it be maybe somewhere before the start of the playoffs, or just a different format, because it's just it just doesn't have the same buzz as it does, because it was the same issue last year, because it was Russell Westbrook last year, but then you wait a whole month, you forget about all the debate, and then it just isn't a big deal. But obviously James Harden is the MVP for the regular season, but then when you have the season as a whole, it was clearly LeBron James. What he did in the playoffs was just insane. That you might think he should be MVP, but as far as regular season goes, yes, James Harden was the MVP. What the Rockets did this year, everyone always thinks of Golden State as a shoo-in, and what Harden did, he took a step up this year, and he probably some help from Chris Paul.
Yeah, the Rockets were a Chris Paul away from the NBA Finals. They were one Chris Paul game away from the NBA Finals.
They were.
As for that debate, I say if they're going to keep the format the way it is, which I feel they will, they should include playoffs in the debate.
It should.
However, if they're going to keep it as regular season, which I feel they will, how about you do it like 2 nights after the regular season's over?
That's what they should do.
Get it done with, then start the playoffs.
Absolutely. I could not agree more.
So, Harden I agree with as regular season. If we're going to include playoffs, then obviously LeBron. So, Rookie of the Year, Ben Simmons.
This is a fun one. The regular season Rookie of the Year was definitely Ben Simmons. My God, I think they won like 17 straight games at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But as far as like Rookie of the Year for Twitter, it was Donovan Mitchell. I mean, he was totally, I don't know if you saw that, he was totally trolling Ben Simmons.
Yes, in the car ride to the awards. Rookie?
About why he should be Rookie of the Year. But it really is when you look at all 3 candidates, I mean, Donovan Mitchell, I mean, need I say more? I mean, it pains me to see him do this to the Utah Jazz because the Pistons should have drafted him.
And we had this discussion before. We got Dennis Smith Jr. We got Donovan Mitchell. We got Luke Kennard.
Luke, you're not a bad player, but man, could you? I mean, just Donovan Mitchell, Blake Griffin, Andre would be so great. But anyway.
Oh, and I gotta mention it, Darko the GOAT.
Oh no, good old Darko. But I've said this. We've had this discussion before. But if it wasn't as horrible as Darko Milicic was, the only good thing that came out of that was if the Pistons wouldn't have drafted Darko, would they have traded for Rasheed Wallace, the missing piece of that 04 puzzle? I don't think they would have. Granted, we'd be better off probably for the future, but that's the only thing that worked out. But yes, it's awful. It pains me every time to see it. Donovan Mitchell is just another example of that. I mean, Luke Kennard's going to be a better player than Darko Milicic, hands down. He's got a good shot, but anyway, Donovan Mitchell, amazing season. And then even Jason Tatum. I mean, my God, Jason Tatum had like the most points in an NBA playoffs as a rookie, or some statistic like that. I mean, he had an amazing season.
I know this guy went from not knowing how to defend LeBron to LeBron following him on Twitter or Instagram.
Amazing season. Boston has so much potential next year. I mean, a Boston Golden State NBA Finals. That
might go 7.
That would go 7, hands down.
So as for the Rookie of the Year debate, my thought is if you have a parliament of a foreign country saying that you were snubbed from the All-Star game, you deserve an award, for sure. As the Australian Parliament was talking about Ben Simmons being snubbed from the All-Star game. If that happens, then damn it, you deserve an award. And it might have been at Donovan Mitchell's expense, but you know what? He deserves something from that. Rookie of the Year, I agree with Simmons.
Of course.
NBA Sixth Man Award, Lou Williams.
The surviving member of that Clippers squad. He had an amazing season. Amazing season. And
once Blake Griffin left, they were Thanos. I don't really feel so good.
They really were, and I mean, I think it was a tough. It was same thing with the Rookies of the Year, sixth man. I mean, a lot of good candidates. I mean, Fred VanVleet. I mean, where did he come from?
I know exactly where he came from. Wichita State. He was that closer in the NCAA tournament. As you know, I watch a lot more college than you do, if I'm correct, but. He was the closer on that Wichita State team that went to the Final Four.
I'm probably in the minority on this, but March Madness, I love college basketball. Regular season college basketball, not as much. But
there are a lot of people that are like that. Fortunately, I'm not one of them because I like college basketball throughout the entire year. But there are a lot of people that are like that. So I think you're actually part of the majority.
I am. Finally, I'm not alone.
Yeah, there are a lot of my friends are like that. So
And Eric Gordon as well. Like I said, what Houston did this year was amazing. He was a huge part. So any one of those could easily win.
yeah, I'd have probably given it to Lou Williams because he just kept hitting 3-ball after 3-ball all year. Van Vliet was a closer like he was at Wichita State, but I'd give it to Lou Williams. I would. Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert.
Oh, man, I think I've said it before, but just any one of those three I could easily see. I mean, Gobert. I mean, you going back to Donovan Mitchell. I mean, Rudy Gobert was a huge part of Utah's success. Joel Embiid. I mean, what else is there to say about Joel Embiid? What the Sixers did was amazing. And then Anthony Davis.
Joel Embiid's Instagram location is the playoffs.
No kidding. No kidding. Oh, my God.
Joel Embiid's a character. That would be amazing to get him on this show if that were to ever happen.
Did you ever watch on YouTube? There's a YouTube series called Hot Ones. Have you ever heard of that show?
I have not, and it's sad because I am on it because this is a YouTube podcast, but I have not.
Oh, it's an interview show where I think his name's Sean Evans. He interviews people while eating hot wings.
I've actually done, and I will admit this on the show, and the company knows this too. In fact, they actually didn't mind it at all. One of my podcasts for 3PS Magazine, I did it with one of my drinking buddies who actually won the rapid fire contest. That was actually the exact podcast that he won it, Aaron Gosser. I downed a tall boy while doing that.
Ah, there you go. Atta boy.
Which, going back to a topic very early in the show, I mentioned Beer Money. Kelly Kroll's the host of Beer Money Chicago. So both Beer Money hosts I gave shout-outs to. But, yeah, I did a tall boy while doing a show once. So I'm not afraid to do some interesting stuff. And 3PS Mag was totally okay with it. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
It's a cool company.
Yeah, definitely. So, back to Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, you could go with either Gobert, Davis, or Embiid. I might lean towards Embiid, but that one's another 51-49 vote. Utah is that team that just nobody really talked about much until they went to the playoffs, and I was probably the only one in America that thought that they would beat OKC in the first round.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that one. I did not see that coming.
The best part of that series was Mitt Romney taunting Russell Westbrook when he got his fourth foul.
That was hilarious.
That's four. That's four.
It was funny. I think I saw on Twitter. I think back when he was like the governor of Massachusetts, he had old Celtics jersey on.
I think he had a Jazz jersey on, but maybe, but yeah.
Like I've always been a Utah Jazz fan. Don't focus on I used to be the governor of Massachusetts and a Celtics fan. No, that's not true. Huge Jazz. Always been a huge Jazz fan.
Like I said, I try to stay away from politics, but that tells you how much politicians flip-flop, even when it's not politics.
Nothing but a little joshing for good old Mitt. I got nothing but love for Mitt.
Oh yeah. So, most improved player, Victor Oladipo.
Yep. Speaking of surprises, I mean, it's funny. There's a Twitter account I follow called Old Takes Exposed.
I think I've seen retweets from this account.
Oh, and they just have right around the time of the draft, they just had a field day with all tweets saying, how much the Oklahoma City Thunder just stole from the pace. Like, it was a heist because all they had to give away was Victor Oladipo for Paul George. Like, Indiana's going to be terrible. But then something happened to Victor Oladipo, and he just had an unbelievable season.
I think because he went to Indiana, you know where Victor Oladipo went to college, right?
That's right. Hoosiers.
And he destroyed Michigan when
He really did.
Oladipo, Anunoby, and that Tom Crean, not Green, because I think Crean is a jerk. I feel that Indiana team was dominant that year. I would have to actually go towards Capella because, like I had said earlier on this show, it's a toss up between Ariza and Capella, most underrated player on that team. They pretty much won every single game with Capella in the starting lineup. Houston did.
Yeah, I can see that, and even another play. Going at this little Pistons connection here. Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yep.
The only decent draft pick that Stan Van Gundy had in his entire career, and it's sad that it was a second-round draft pick, and he only became good till after he left the Pistons. Dinwiddie had a really solid season. I think he won the skill. He won the skills challenge at the All-Star weekend, and for the first time in God knows how long, Brooklyn has a decent future because they got D'Angelo and Dinwiddie for their backcourt. Mm-hmm. So Dinwiddie had a solid season as well.
So yeah, I'd give it to Capella for most improved player, but Oladipo was not a bad pick because they were 5 points away from beating Cleveland in the first round, and we for sure knew that LeBron was going to leave at that point. But it was still up in the air until he actually signed, in my opinion.
It was, absolutely.
So, Coach of the Year, our last one, because I don't want to talk about one play and one game out of 82. Last one I'll talk about, Coach of the Year, Dwayne Casey.
Another Pistons connection. And as much as as great of a coach as Dwayne Casey was, and I think it's kind of justified that he got fired and getting the Coach of the Year, he definitely was worthy for the award, but I got to go with Brad Stevens. All the injuries that he had to deal with, and the fact that they were still able to be so successful and a game away from the NBA Finals without Kyrie, without Gordon Hayward, with a bunch of rookies and young players. Brad Stevens, hands down, not even close.
Oh yeah. So Dwayne Casey is thinking this.
Oh, great! What's it for this time?
For doing absolutely nothing longer than anyone else. Patrick, this trophy's for you!
Now, I'm not accusing Dwayne Casey of doing absolutely nothing. I'm just bringing up the SpongeBob and Patrick scene where Patrick's, I want an award!
Gotta love Patrick.
Because I bet you that's how Casey felt about that team. That when you win 59 games in a year and you get fired. Come on, Toronto. Come on.
I'll say this: he was definitely worthy of winning NBA's Most Screwed award.
Right.
Definitely a worthy recipient of that. But I think it should have been Brad Stevens, but Dwayne Casey's perfectly fine. And I'm looking forward to what he can do with the Pistons. So I'm okay with that. Him winning that.
Stevens' most underrated coach in the league. Stevens' most underrated coach because he can. Heck, I could be the center and you could be a shooting guard, and we'd still be like a 60-win team on Stevens' team.
Absolutely.
and I'm 5'9", 230. Not a very well proportioned NBA guy, but
he'd draw up a play for you.
Oh yeah. So with that being said, what's that?
I was saying, hit it off your head.
Probably. So with that being said, let's move on to what's been happening in free agency so far.
Best time of the year.
Oh, yes. First off, we got to talk about the obvious. LeBronzo. L.A. Bron. LeBron. Lakers, along with JaVale McGee. Rajon Rondo. I call him Rajon Rondo. Rajon Rondo, Lance Stevenson joining him. LA pretty much went from worst to almost first. But of course, Golden State, Thanos' the league by signing DeMarcus Cousins, if Cousins works out. So let's talk about LeBron. Lakers, the Lake Show. LA becoming the Lakers town once again. How do they compete with Golden State as of right now?
As of right now, I mean, they definitely. I mean, when you got LeBron James, that's a heck of a start. But I think a lot of people, including myself, kind of question some of those signings that they've made, because a strong LeBron team is him, letting LeBron do his thing and having him pass out to someone for a corner three or
corner three.
Exactly. If we have a perimeter game, and who do you sign? Lance Stevenson, very talented, scrappy player, not known for his shot. Rajon Rondo is pretty much talented at a lot of offensive aspects except for his shot. I mean, JaVale McGee, need I say more? And so, as of right now, they need to either get another star player or sign some more shooters. I mean, they have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He can have a decent shot.
The Pope.
They have Josh Hart. He can have a decent shot, but now
glad he's no longer at Nova, as well as the entire Villanova team. But that being given because I'm a U of M guy. But continue.
But and as of right now, no. Of course, with Golden State's gonna be Golden State for God knows how long, but they need more shooters, and they probably need another star player like a Kawhi Leonard, or even next year. Next year, there's a lot of good free agents on the market, including one of them who I think that they should sign, Jimmy Butler. Oh. He's going to be a free agent next year. Pair him up with LeBron James. That would be a quality team.
And you mentioned that on the last show that LeBron and Butler almost happened in Cleveland, but Dan Gilbert said no.
Like right in the middle of working on the trade. So that would be, because look what we did with Miami. He had a decent, he had a fellow shooting guard along with him in Dwayne Wade. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Butler can be his Dwayne Wade. Mm-hmm. Not saying he's as good, he's going to be as good as Dwayne Wade, but he can be similar in that regard how he was in Miami. So I think that'd be a terrific signing.
Mm-hmm. And then this will happen.
All right, bring it up to court. And corner three!
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Corner three.
Corner three!
Corner three.
All right, up in corner three. Because LeBron needs that. Of course, they could bring Ray Allen out of retirement, but that's not going to happen.
What is he, like 50 now, 100?
Seems like it. So you say the current Lakers team could not challenge Golden State. I tend to agree with you there. They need a little bit more, but I think they can definitely make the playoffs. I would say 4 or 5 seed maybe. Of course, the West was so packed last year that seeds 3 through 6 were separated by a game and a half.
The West is so good that they're even considering doing like a different playoff format instead of East and West, 8 teams, 1 through 16, because that's how stacked the Western Conference. Denver was a 50-win team last year, and they totally got screwed because the West was so stacked. But then I know Washington last year, the 8th seed in the East, if they weren't under 500, they're pretty darn close to being below 5 and got in. So there's something wrong with that. When Denver, who is a pretty decent team, damn near winning almost 50 games, can't make the playoffs, but Washington, who could barely get above 500, can make it. There's something wrong with that.
Yeah, and a little pun to the center, that's a yoke.
It really is.
It's a yoke. So with that being said, PG staying in OKC. So OKC did not go rated R because they got rid of Melo. They just went PG-13. Melo, I guess. I think it's a good thing that he's gone because a good Carmelo team Carmelo wants the ball, and it's got to be Carmelo's thing, just like LeBron. It's got to be Melo's thing. That's how Denver succeeded, even with Chauncey Billups. That's how Denver succeeded. That's how Carmelo's next team, I feel, will succeed. I don't think he'll be that good in Houston, honestly, because Carmelo and Harden will want the ball an equal amount of time. That's Harden's team. Harden's going to say hell no. Carmelo wants his own team, I feel. Is he welcome with the Knicks? I don't think so. No. Carmelo would not want to go back to New York. Maybe a team like Orlando. Maybe a team like maybe not Charlotte, but Brooklyn. God forbid if he wants to go back to the boroughs of New York. But I think Carmelo wants his own team, and that's how a Carmelo team was ever going to work.
If it wasn't for Golden State, he probably would want that. But I think he's at the point of his career where he's ring chasing, so he'll
Fair
find
enough.
a way to get into Houston or like a contending team. And like you said, wherever he goes, they're going to run into those issues. I mean, I'm totally not going to remember the statistic, but it showed how many points they scored when all three of Carmelo, Paul George, and Russ were on the floor together. It was not very good, but then when it was actually Paul George and Russ, had some really good stats.
Mm-hmm.
So Melo just did not make that. It just was just a fit that didn't work. It was like square peg in a round hole. It just was not a good fit.
It brings back the meme when you think you got an A on the test, but it comes back and you got F. Would be that team.
Really, I mean, it really is, and it was an odd big three. It was an odd construction. I mean, it was worth a shot. It just flat out did not work. And I don't know if it could go.
And for the Lakers' standpoint, when PG signed in OKC, my thought was, oh, holy cow, the Lakers had better talk to this guy immediately, because if he likes OKC, ... look what happened. He's staying. It may be Russ's team, but Russ likes PG. And I just wish that 2012 would have went the other way. Now look at it. 3 MVPs on that team. They still don't win the finals.
It really is insane to think about.
And back in 2012, I was probably the only guy in America, just like when my pick of the Jazz over the Thunder that worked. I had OKC winning the finals that year. I thought, you know what? OKC just looks good enough. And unfortunately, the Heat turned it on like it did last week across the Midwest and even in the West. The Heat just turned it on, and lo and behold, the Heat win in 5.
That was LeBron got his first chip.
Yep.
And that OKC team was really young, so I mean,
that's true.
They way overachieved to even get to that finals.
But here I was, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, sports fan, had that blind squirrel nut moment, and I had it this year with Utah.
That was a heck of a call. It's funny that you mentioned that. I remember back in the day when I used to do the bowl picks back when for college football. Back when a bunch of bowls actually meant something. Now you don't really care because of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
At least I don't. I think it was a Hawaii Bowl, and it was East Carolina versus Boise State, and it was actually who was. I can't think of the running back. I think he went on to be the running back for the Tennessee Titans. Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson was on it.
Yeah, CJ2K.
The predictions on there. It was like 98.2% of people thought Boise State was going to win that game. I picked East Carolina, and ended up winning. So that was the craziest sports prediction I ever made.
The one prediction that didn't go my way was the first ever Popeyes Bahamas Bowl. CMU Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky was a 7-point favorite. Wow. Guess what screwed me?
I'm guessing the Hail Mary?
Yep. They were up 8, I think.
Unreal.
And CMU puts it to overtime, and of course, because overtime rules, I think the Western Kentucky only wins by 6, I think, or something like that. And it's like, Scott Van Pelt.
For nothing.
Bad beats.
No kidding.
So, I guess one last free agency question. Kawhi. If he goes to the Lakers, which it's looking to be the case, it looks like the writing's on the wall. Let's ask when. When will he go? Was it this year? Or does he sit out a year in San Antonio? Or does he pull a PG, go somewhere else first? Because it looks like he wants out of San Antonio. I guess he can't stand Pop, or he doesn't like the fact that everyone else is going.
With Kawhi, he's such a wild card. It's hard to know what he wants to do. You hear so many wild stories about it. But first of all, I think the root of it is he didn't think that the people in San Antonio took the nature of his injury seriously. Like when he wanted to stand out, they thought that he could have came back earlier, and he was really hurt and angry about how they handled his injury situation. So I don't think he'll ever forgive them for that. But you just hear some weird stories. I think I've heard a story from Deadspin that he and his management team were hiding from Spurs management. Then you hear things that he wants to go to the Lakers with LeBron, but then you hear no, he actually doesn't want to. He wants to go to the Clippers. So and that he might actually consider being on another team. I honestly don't have a clue what Kawhi Leonard's thinking, and I've heard a lot of interviews of people who have interviewed Kawhi Leonard. He's very close to the vest and doesn't really share a lot, so no one really knows what Kawhi Leonard's thinking. That's why there's so much mystery involved with it. You don't know what he wants to do. I mean, the only thing that's certain is he doesn't want to be in San Antonio. After that, it's a toss-up.
All right, yeah. I'm thinking next year on Kawhi. If he signs this year, great. I think if you were the Lakers, PG should have signed this or last year, but they lost out on him. But they got LeBron, which was a nice consolation prize. In fact, might be perhaps the main prize. But Kawhi, I think Kawhi sits. Maybe he is really that hurt. And I felt that he was really hurt back in March too. But maybe he is really that hurt and needs to take some time and sit. Go Spurs management and just quietly take the train to L.A. or fly a plane, actually, because it's actually a 3-hour flight from San Antonio to L.A. But it might be time to sit out here.
Yeah, but like I said, I could easily see that. I could easily see him by next year leaving, but I know for certain I just don't think I'll ever see him in San Antonio uniform. I mean, things happen, you never know, but I think he's that ticked off at them for how that whole injury situation was handled.
And we got to mention a surprise free agency signing. If Tony Parker is no longer a Spur, then I bet you Kawhi is no longer a Spur either.
I think that's safe to say. I know we were talking about this before the show. That's just going to be so bizarre. I think you said it best. It's like the equivalent of seeing Derek Jeter in a Chicago White Sox jersey. It just, something about that seems wrong. You don't even like the Yankees. You don't even like the Spurs. But even seeing an iconic player in a different jersey like that, it just feels wrong.
Michael Jordan in a Wizards uniform.
Wait, who? You say Jordan in a Wizards uniform?
Yep.
It's funny enough, I actually have a Michael Jordan Wizards jersey from when I was a little kid, and I think I went to the last game against the Pistons, and yes, it was very bizarre. And it also makes me think of, I don't know if you remember, for Emmitt Smith, his last year in the league was with the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
That was weird.
Kind of like AP now, but yeah.
I don't even know where he's going. I think Adrian Peterson's still a free agent, isn't he?
As far as I'm aware.
So that'll be interesting to see where he goes. But anyway, yeah, that's.
So.
As speechless as I am now, that's how I feel about with Kawhi. It's hard to know where he's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just know it's not going to be San Antonio.
Right. So with that being said, we've talked shout-outs, we've talked draft, we've talked awards, we've talked free agency. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss before we put a cap on this NBA offseason show?
The one thing I think is what's really been kind of fascinating to me is the reaction to the DeMarcus Cousins signing that I've seen. And I'm kind of astounded by it because it's before he went to Golden State, I was seeing a lot of discussions and posts about, you shouldn't sign DeMarcus Cousins because he's too much of an injury risk. You shouldn't, he'd be too much of a risk. It's not a good idea. But then when he goes to Golden State, now all of a sudden, that's a big deal. Like, see how unfair Golden State is. Oh, look how stacked they are. And I mean, there's some NBA commentators I love that, like even content creators on YouTube, where it's like, the DeMarcus Cousins signing ruins the NBA. No one wanted him, and because of his Achilles injury, and everyone's just making such a big deal about it. Because first of all, like you said, Achilles injury. I mean, that takes a lot of time.
Takes a year
to heal from. I mean, I remember when Brandon Jennings, when he was with the Pistons.
Oh yes.
He got his Achilles injury in January of 2016. He didn't come back until December of 2016, and he didn't really become the same player. So we don't know if DeMarcus is going to be the same player coming back. And even if he is decent and they win the championship, he's not going to go back to Golden State next year anyway because they don't have the money. He just happened to take a low-level deal to kind of bank on himself. And I can't stand Golden State. Don't like them as a team. There isn't any individual players I dislike. I just don't like the team. But I really don't understand what the big deal is. DeMarcus is a very talented player, but it's basically a low risk, high reward for Golden State. We don't even know if he's going to be the same player. He's not even going to play until December or January.
Yeah, they're going to get 30-some games without him.
So I don't think this is as big of a, that big of a deal that everyone's making it out to be. I think people are way overreacting to this.
Yeah, and the thing is, if it works out, because Cousins is that guy that he's going to rack up some technical fouls. Just like Birdman, just like Rashid. He's one of those guys. Even Draymond. You can throw Draymond into that mix too if you want. But he's one of those guys going to rack up tees. Hopefully Steve Kerr will combat that. And if he doesn't work, you know what they're going to do? They're going to dump him.
They're going to dump him anyway. They don't have the money they don't have the money to re-sign him next year anyway because they got Klay Thompson that's going to be a free agent next year. Who are you going to pick between Klay Thompson and DeMarcus Cousins? Obviously Klay Thompson.
Oh, yeah, I'd take Klay as a team player any day.
This is just a one-year thing, no matter what. This doesn't ruin the NBA. I mean, there's another discussion about lack of parity and how predictable the NBA can be, but DeMarcus Cousins isn't suddenly, this is the bridge too far. This is too much. And people are trying to compare it to Kevin Durant. It's not the same situation. Kevin Durant was completely healthy when he signed with Golden State, and it was a completely different situation.
Exactly.
But that's my feeling. I just couldn't believe, people that I like, a lot of NBA content creators that I like to listen to were just freaking out about this signing, and I'm just like, come on. I just think it's ridiculous.
Exactly. And hopefully people add me to the list of NBA facets on YouTube that they listen to. And even Ben Probst as well. Very good insights. So, with that being said, Cousins, hope it works out. So, with that being said, anything else you'd like to add to this NBA offseason show?
It's a crazy ride. I almost enjoy the NBA offseason as much as I do the regular season, just because of how unpredictable it can be. I mean, last offseason was a major example. It was just insane, the stuff that happened. I mean, Jimmy Butler being traded to Minnesota, then the Paul George trade to OKC, the Kyrie trade. I mean, even my Pistons. I mean, I didn't expect the Avery Bradley trade to happen. I mean, just
that was big, but unfortunately, it just didn't work out.
Worked out getting Blake Griffin, but
that's true.
That remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm. And so with that being said, this is our first podcast where we've hit the hour mark.
All right. Rock and roll. Love it.
Rocking and rolling. So
Gotta get that 60 minutes.
60 minutes.
You don't need to watch 60 minutes on CBS. Watch us.
I'm morally safer. Not really. Rest in peace, morally safer.
Tick.
We may as well, what the heck? We might as well end the show on that. So, with that being said, this is Tom Green and this is Ben Probst. See you again on another edition of NBA 60 Minutes, the Offseason Show. Thanks, everybody, for listening.